marketing manager notices that one of the technical guys is doing something very strange. So they go and talk to him and they say, "What is it that you're doing?" And he said, I've come up with this really cool idea. I'm connecting to all of my network that I know that are ill. And they're like, right. And he said, yeah, I call it influenza marketing. It's going viral. Crickets. That's all there was for that one. Influenza
marketing.
Viral.
We got it.
There was. Yeah. Okay. I'll get my code.
Get your code. Yes. Anyway, hello everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to this Friday's download. It's lovely to see you all here. So, as always, should we go around and do some intros? Alex, you're in the top left, so you might as well kick off.
Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. I'm Alex Abbott, founder of Sapiro and very proud DLA Ignite partner.
Fantastic. Rob.
Good morning, all. Welcome from Boston. I'm Rob Durant, founder of Flywheel Results and a proud DLA partner.
Lorena.
Hi, good morning. I am based in Lima, Peru. And I am also founder of Performa, legal marketing and social selling for lawyers and law firms.
Lenwood.
Hi, I'm Lenwood Ross. I'm the founder and CEO of Accelerate, a DLA Ignite partner. I'm just outside New York City.
Tim.
Hi, everybody. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And welcome, everybody.
Eric.
Hello, I'm Eric. Eric from Crux, here in Aberdeen, Scotland. I don't know why I say Aberdeen, Scotland like that. It just feels appropriate. I think I've been hanging about with Tracy for too long. We are digital commercial advisors. Tracy's one of the team. She's proudly wearing the badge. And we are strangely proud partners. Well, we're partners. Anyway, we're partners.
And the lovely...
After that joke, they could say the same.
Yeah.
I would say we're proud partners. I'm proud to be a partner anyway. I'm Tracy Borison. I'm the Canadian arm of Crux. And I don't say Aberdeen, Scotland that way, so I don't know why you say Aberdeen. But I'm just outside of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, so right by the Rocky Mountains. And I'm super excited for our topic today.
And what's the temperature today? Because when I say it's pretty cold here in Scotland, it's like -2. Tracy says that's not cold.
Today, right now, it's 0 actually.
What? Because
so,
you've had minus what Celsius minus recently?
Oh, like -45.
-45 Celsius.
Wow.
For
I know. I was
in the
talking to
States.
Eric about how we were in the mountains over the holidays, and I was like, it was so nice. It was like 0 degrees.
Snaps off.
We're throwing rocks in the river.
For those of us in the States that still use Fahrenheit, that's pretty freaking cold.
Yeah, 0 Celsius is 32 Fahrenheit. So
Yeah.
Right. 0 Kelvin.
0 Kelvin.
0 Kelvin, yeah. That
they
is
only
a
use
bit
that
chilly.
in space, I think, right? In space.
And science class.
Science.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody in the audience. How lovely to see you all. And if it's your first download of the year, then Happy New Year. And for you lot, it's not Happy New Year because we were all here last week. So this week is quite an interesting topic, I think, isn't it, that we're going to discuss. What exactly is being a modern digital professional? And I think it's quite interesting because digital is something that everybody talks about digital transformation, talk about being digital, talk about digital behaviors. But what exactly does being digital mean? How do you have to adapt yourself to operate in the digital world? And is all the stuff you learned with your 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years of being analog, is any of that relevant anymore? So who would like to kick this off? What is being a modern digital professional?
But
Smart. Pretty smart.
Has anyone asked ChatGPT before we get to
Well, that's bound to be the right answer, isn't it?
Do you want me to tell you the answer?
Yeah, go on.
Okay. A modern digital professional is someone who is proficient in using technology and digital tools to perform their duties, communicate with colleagues and clients, and stay up to date with the latest developments in their field. They may be experts in areas such as website development, social media marketing, data analysis, or graphic design, and are typically well-versed in a variety of software and programming languages.
Okay, well, so some of that's certainly true of us, isn't
Some of
it?
it is.
Shall I stop there?
The key phrase there is, if you take this back to the root of your question, what is a modern digital professional? Is someone who's stayed up to date with the latest trends and what's working and what's not, and someone who's completely got their head on a swivel, as we've discussed before, as the Marines say, as to what is working these days commercially and what's not working, and willing to change. So fundamentally, I think it's someone who's aware. They've got their heads up and they're looking around. They're willing. They're brave and they're willing to sample things, and they're willing to take what might be viewed as quite risky moves by some, might be viewed as quite risky moves, to change and flex and swell with what their markets require. That, for me, is the fundamental of what a digital professional is. Before we get into how they behave and what they do, it's that yearning for staying up to date, staying modern, staying relevant, and keeping up to pace with it all. The digital technologies part is important, but also there's the whole swathe, which I'm sure my learned colleagues will go on and talk about here, is the whole behavior appetite and activity appetite, but fundamentally inquisitive about what works best in their markets and willing to change. That's got to be the fundamental, right?
Yeah, absolutely. My concern about this. Sorry, go on, Rob. And
I just wanted to give an example of what I believe it means to be a modern digital professional. I've been awake for 2 hours now. First thing in the morning, hi everyone. In the last 2 hours, I started my day on my phone, as I tend to do, where I received a message from somebody I had connected with about 2 years ago. She's in Spain, and she was asking me about sales enablement, and I'm exchanging ideas with her. Later, I move over to Facebook, where I'm connected with a group of entrepreneurs, and somebody put up a post, and I responded with lyrics from an old school hip hop song, because I'm hip.
You're done with the kids,
and
Rob.
We know it, mate.
And then I'm texting a friend of mine about the results of a call I had with somebody in India last night. And then finally, I wrapped up with completing Wordle and sending my answers to the family group chat. All of that was done digitally. So how is that done different from analog? It's just the people that I'm able to reach in the places that they're seated in. But it's still just connecting with people.
That's the important bit. Digital is the platform to enable you to access these people. It isn't a change in what you consider life to be. And I think that's one of the big issues, isn't it? If you think about the ChatGPT definition of the question that we asked, it was talking about digital technologies as if using the digital technology was being a modern digital professional, and it isn't. The fact that it's using the digital technology in order to do the things that you would have done in a human-to-human interaction. That's the point, isn't it?
And doing more of it. Yeah.
I would like to combine those two and just say, combine what Eric said and, well, actually the three of you, just say that, there's the learning piece, which is like, the always be learning. Then there's the connection piece. When you bring those two things together, that means there's going to be tremendous change, because we're learning so much faster and we're communicating so much faster. That means that the new things that are coming out of those interactions is, the pace is just remarkable. So And that's not even getting into the exponential nature of digital interaction, right? We're one to many and many to many. So those things create a level of speed and complexity that requires, right, the behavior changes that I'm sure we're going to get into.
So what are the risks? Because, you know, the way that this has been described is that it's really straightforward. You know, Rob wakes up in the morning, he uses his phone, he gets some connections and some conversations with people on one of the social channels. He then moves that to an email or a text exchange. He then moves that to a group chat, and he then posts something on Facebook. So it's all of those different channels, and it's a piece of cake. So what are the risks? Why isn't everybody doing this?
I think one of the biggest risks, there's a few risks. One is overwhelm. So we have to, digital requires that we be able to set boundaries ourselves. In an analog world, then just the nature of the interactions, boundaries were set for you. A perfect example of that is the workplace. If you had to go into the workplace to have an interaction with your colleagues or customers, you know, you've got a natural boundary. Today, those boundaries are they're non-existent, which is why people are so overwhelmed. You just a constant flow of communication and information. It makes it very, very, very difficult. And the other big risk is a lack of focus. Okay, so if we can't decipher or understand what we need to be focused on, the noise is overwhelming. And there are, you know, people with vested interests in, you know, pushing their particular piece of technology or their way of thinking. And if you can't tell whether that technology or way of thinking is what's needed for how things are today, you could be in a world of hurt.
But isn't the issue here that you're trying, that when you think the answer is the technology, you know, the opportunity to talk to an infinite number of people all of the time, it becomes a shortcut. I was talking to somebody the other day who had studied psychology, and they said the problem is that it is hardwired into your DNA to be lazy. If there are two ways of doing something, the easy way or the difficult way, you're going to pick the easy way. Everybody does it. That's the default behavior. And the problem that digital creates is that if you think about what happened when email came along, all of a sudden you could take your message that you had been sending out by post at a cost of $1 per letter, and now you could scale it and you could have an infinite number of people pretty much, and you could have it for free. So what people did was they decided, well, I'll talk to an infinite number of people and I'll do it for free. Therefore, there must be more money in that for me. I must get more of a result that way. Now, the problem surely with this is that the ability to be able to reach a global, huge audience means the requirement for you to actually think about what you're saying and the results you get becomes much less important.
I think when you spoke earlier about, and you asked the question, what's the risk? The risk, many of our clients that many people that we come across to explain all of this social media thing. If you're not inside social media, if you're not operating in it and living in the digital world, from the outside looking in, looking through a piece of glass going, I kind of want to go in there, but it's like a noisy, hot merry-go-round of spikes and hashtags and lights and noise and that overwhelm that, you know, how on earth do I go in and make sense of this? Yeah. Where did you buy that wall? How do I go in and make sense of this? I'm going to step onto this fast-moving merry-go-round. I'm going to trip up. We're going to look foolish. We're going to make mistakes, and it's all going to be a big waste of time and a disaster. Getting back to the very first thing that you said about allowing you to do more of what you wanted to do. We meet many people who say, yeah, the whole digital thing sounds great, but we're an old-fashioned company. We like to deal with people directly. We like to meet our customers, and we like to do the old face-to-face thing. And you know, they've been beguiled by the fact that for them, well, we're not going to get into this digital world because We don't sell things that you can just order like on Amazon. Ours is all about face-to-face. They're not yet understanding that the new digital world and demand and lead generation and building relationships allows you to do more of what you do. You know, what are you good at? Well, we're very good when we get in the room or we get on a Zoom call with our clients, or we're very good when we get in the conference room. That's where we do all of our best work. Okay, how are you doing that with new clients these days that have never met you in new territories? How are you getting to that Zoom call? Well, not so much these days. We're kind of existing on the 5 clients that we have, and there's not so much new business coming in these days. It's so there are lots of scary aspects to this for people. You know, why would I put my foot on this scary heaving thing? And a big part of it is all having confidence and having the knowledge and understanding it properly to be able to go in and just press stop on all of this and say, actually, we need to be over there. We need to be over there.
There is a saying in German. It's Leben ist lebensgefährlich. It means life is life dangerous. You know, living, life is life. So everything that we do has always and takes always a risk. So why are we so afraid towards or social selling or being on social? It's because we expose ourselves, our figures, our image, and to many people. But I don't think that should be an excuse not to be on social. And I am going back to the question, what is a modern digital professional? I would split modern, digital, and professional. What is a modern professional? Is a modern professional a person that buys using social, buys using digital, travels using digital, goes to restaurant, finds their partners, their life partners using an application or a platform, and not applying this to their professional lives? So I think the modern professional, the modern digital professional is the person that does all what I mentioned, but also in their professional lives, in their organizations, in how they contact people, how they sell, and so on. So that's the point. And I think that's the main barrier that I found, for example, with my clients, lawyers or digital. Excuse me. Yeah. With my.
Yeah, I was going to say, respecting those boundaries that Lenwood was talking about earlier. You know, that's one of the biggest challenges that I see is people don't respect those boundaries. So I think there was someone saying they got an invitation in the comments and they ignore it. It's, you know, they're just blasting these things at people on social, not respecting or understanding the boundaries, because they wouldn't walk up to someone in the street and slap them with an invitation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think Andrew had a great question.
Like walking through a networking event, throwing their business cards at people. I'm just like, I mean, like, this is gonna work, right? Yeah.
But you've nailed it there. So you know, if you imagine how you operate within a face-to-face business networking environment and just port that into the digital space, you behave in exactly the same way. You meet people and engage people in a conversation in exactly the same way. Some of those people say, you know what, Tracy, I really like you. I want to work with you. Some people say, actually, Tracy, you're not really my cup of tea. I don't want to work with you. That's fine. And the reason that's fine here is because rather than having 50 people in the room, you've got 500 million people in the room.
Yeah.
So you can afford to choose and let them be.
Can you bring up Andrew's question? The
egos
company
one.
Scared. The egos one.
Oh yeah,
I think that's a fantastic question. Yep. I don't know that it's ego driven though. I think it's more, well, these sound derogatory, but fear and ignorance. For 20 years, for 30 years, I have done business this way. I know how to do business this way. I know how to lead others doing business this way. And now you're telling me do it that way. I don't know how. And I'm afraid if what you're telling me is just a fad or doesn't work, I'm tanked. No, I'm going to keep doing what I've been doing because 20 years, 30 years of practice tells me it works.
Yeah. And I mean, I totally empathize with all of that. My profession before I became an entrepreneur and started doing what I'm doing today is the legal profession, risk averse, very conservative, so that doesn't help us when it comes to digital. But Adam touched on something which is, I think, the essence that we should emphasize more. And that's conversations. Okay. If we can get people to focus on this idea that what really matters is conversations, and you're really good at that. Mm-hmm. You're good at that in an analog environment. That's why you think being face to face is what you need. Mm. But in reality, being in proximity to one another isn't necessarily the thing that's most important. What's most important is that you're able to have this conversation. So if we can get people to think, hey, really, what you just need to learn is how to have those conversations that you're awesome at in a new way. Like the only thing you really need to learn is the new way. Then I think maybe they'll get over, the distraction of the medium, the mechanism that is enabling the conversation. It's critically important that they do that, because this digital way enables you to have those conversations much faster, and that's really the issue.
Yeah,
your conversation can run much faster than you.
I've got an example.
Those conversations.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. What did you say?
An even finer point is starting those conversations. How do I do that digitally?
Yeah. So I've got an example.
Once the conversation started, I can take it from there.
Yeah.
Alex.
We're touching on the same point.
Alex, start a conversation, Alex.
I've got an example of a conversation this week where a CEO of a company is trying to do prospecting on social media. And the example he gave was that somebody had posted about a specific problem they had, and there was a conversation about this specific problem, which he can solve. And he sent him a message, and he doesn't know why he isn't responding. And that's because the message is, hey, I overheard you talking about this. I have a product that solves that problem. Let's have a chat. Completely missed. Like, if you think about the networking environment, that's like saying, I was earwigging your conversation and I wanted to get in on that. I can solve that. It's like, hold on. That's a bit rude. You're interrupting my conversation. And I think, it's exactly the same on social media.
Well, and I think one of the interesting things that I see is this, like, it really is the digital transformation, right? Because it's about people figuring out how can I show up the way I show up analog in a digital way? Because we still have this like brain thought pattern that says digital is different than analog, right? And I have to show up differently. And I don't know if it's like rooted in like everything in the like digital dating arena launched when I was in high school, right? And it was like fun to set up fake profiles, and that's what you would do, right? There's like this inherent kind of fakeness that's always existed in digital. So I think that there's like a mindset shift in terms of the digital transformation of being able to say like, hey, I just show up as myself online. And you know what? I want to give this example because I think a lot of people, when they receive my connection request, thinks it's weird. But like sometimes I stumble across a profile and I just get a vibe from the person's picture or tagline or something. And I was like, hey, I was on your profile. I'm feeling your vibe. Would you like to connect? And not everybody does that.
Made him nervous.
Can you kindly stop feeling my vibe, please?
Connection requests, restraining orders
from my lawyer.
Is she watching me through my camera?
Yeah. Daddy,
people
there's a strange
accept
woman in the
no.
garden.
But here's the reason why. I want to tell you the reason why I do that, because I do the same thing at an in-person networking event. The people I go over and talk to, because I feel a safe vibe, right? I'm like, oh, that person looks like bubbly and fun. I'm going to go over and talk to them because I think it's have fun. Yeah. Oh, Leah's saying my aura is magenta. I've heard that before, actually. Thing. I don't know about auras.
Do more, Leah.
And some people accept it and some people don't. But this is what the thing for me is, like, the people who do get it, right? They're just like, oh, that's somebody who would walk up to me in a networking event because we might vibe as people. And are you 100% accurate when you connect based on vibe? No, but that is how I would do it in real life. So that's my extrapolation of how I do it online. And even in real life, I've had people, I remember sitting at this table once at a conference, and like, I kept trying to like engage the people at the table and nobody was having any of it, right? They just wanted to sit there and eat their lunch. And I was like, oh, I'm at the wrong table. Because now I'm the weird one. I'm the weird one trying to start a conversation, and everybody's like, just leave me alone. I want to eat my lunch.
Your vibe. Okay, you were giving off vibes. They weren't feeling it.
It was the wrong vibe. But I just think it's like, there's technology, and there's no one way to use the technology. There's no one reason to reach out to somebody to connect. There's no one message that you send to people. There's no one way. And I think reminding people of this is helpful in that digital transformation, to say like, oh, I am good at creating connections in real life. So how can I be good at creating connections in the digital space, instead of saying I can't be any good at creating connections in the digital space?
Tracy, but I have a question. Vibes, I agree, but I have a question. Since this is a behavior, so we have to know that there are people that have different behaviors, and there are people that are more introverted or more extroverted and have sometimes difficult to getting in touch. So how can we deal that, for example, with clients that say, no, it happens, no? Some very extroverted clients that do networking in the analog world cannot do it in the digital, and on the other way around, introverts that don't do that in the analog are better in the digital world. So what are your thoughts about that?
I have many thoughts about introverts versus extroverts, because I believe it's a spectrum. And there's times where we all feel more extroverted and times where we feel more introverted. And that is where important information can be found. Okay. So if you are a self-identified introvert and you feel more comfortable networking online because there is this kind of removed piece of it, like, that's great. Take advantage of that, right? If you're more extroverted and you like being in person, what do you like about that? And find spaces digitally that can mirror that. Because there are spaces. There's not like digital's for the introverts and analog is for the extroverts, right? That's not true. It's just about like being able to have that level of self-awareness of what type of interactions make me feel good, what type of interactions make me feel uncomfortable, what makes me feel uncomfortable. I had somebody who I like connected with forever ago. Like, she connected with me on Facebook. We had a discovery call and all these things ages ago. And I sent her a like New Year's message, like, hey, how's 2023 shaping up? The immediate response was like, Tracy, I use Facebook for personal things. Please do not bother me with like work things. And I was like, one, I'll be happy to connect with you on LinkedIn because I don't hang out on Facebook anyway. But I was like, this is so interesting, right? People just like, you connected with me here. I'm trying to just like stay connected, right? Like, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I'm trying to be curious, and you don't want me to be curious, and that's fine. But that's like, this is something that we can use as information for ourselves, right? And I think a lot of times we maybe go like what Adam said, the easy path, right? Like, the easy path is like, I don't have conversations with people who might be a business contact at some point on Facebook. Yeah, you can create that rule if you want to, but that's like your own boundary. It's not like an inherent boundary. I think it's just about like there are places where all people feel comfortable. So find the places where you feel comfortable, find the ways where you show up and you feel comfortable, where you can build those relationships, because that's where relationships build anyway, right? They build when people get a level of comfort together. And it's not about, I think too, even on the internet, people are like, you need to be loud because there's so much noise, right? So you need to be like louder than the things. But I would love to hear other people's perspectives, but that's not really where I make connections.
On that very topic of introverts and extroverts, one of our lovely community that's here, Beth Alexander, a couple of us know her. Beth wrote an article, her first ever article on LinkedIn. I can't believe it's November 1821 that she published it, because it feels like just yesterday. And she wrote about introverts and extroverts in business. It is a cracking read. If you go onto Beth's profile, she talks about, so here's my story as an introvert in a job designed for extroverts. And she breaks it down beautifully and talks about that. It's such a worthwhile read. I've actually sent it to a bunch of people to get them to read it. Yeah, it's an absolutely superb piece. So maybe you can share the link, Beth. There you go. She's talking about it.
I'd love to talk about on vibes, which Tracy brought up, because I think it's really an important thing. Tracy's talking about vibes that make her want to connect with people. And one of the incredible benefits of digital technologies is the ability to create these vibes while not actually there. Your presence on social media can create vibes for people without you actually having to do anything. And that is incredibly, I shouldn't say without you having to do anything. If you have a social presence, if you have a personal brand, if you're building up your, for lack of a better way of saying it, portfolio of who you are in a integrated and multi-dimensional, multi-channel way, people will search that out because that's the natural inclination to do that. I don't know anybody who, especially in a business context, doesn't look up a LinkedIn profile almost immediately upon meeting someone or hearing about someone. They're going to go to the LinkedIn profile. And when you are a modern digital professional, your profile is there to create vibes and build, or what I would call build trust or whatever, quickly, incredibly quickly, much more quickly than if you had to do it over a series of weeks or months in-person communication.
Sorry, carry on, Adam.
I was just going to say, I'll show I'll show Leah's comment in a sec. You said it's about the vibe. It's all about the vibe, isn't it? Business is about relationships. Relationship is about the vibe. And the nice thing about being on a social network is that you get to see the vibe of the person that you're interacting with and know whether or not this is somebody that you could be friends with. So Leah said, and unfortunately this truncates it, so I'll read the rest of it. The internet has been abused for so long, so it's a credibility/trust issue. Also, the platforms we were using are changing. LinkedIn was a constipated digital resume hosting platform. Absolutely. It's now morphing into a social network. But it took people breaking down unspoken rules to chip away at that initial concept. And we see that time and time again, don't we? In fact, we've shown examples of it where people have said on here, where people have said, this doesn't belong on LinkedIn. This belongs on Facebook. No, it belongs where you're interacting with people. In a business context, would you take somebody to a football game? Yes, you would. Why? Because you want to get to know that person. And if you
I think it took a little bit of LinkedIn backing that up as well. It's not as if it's just the community that have done this. Yeah. LinkedIn came out and changed. All the adverts in the last 3 years about LinkedIn have been about diversity and inclusion and play out your stories, play out all of this. So there were the rebels who were doing it before they gave permission, who were actually trying to twist this big beast round to become a social network, and then they finally went, "Ooh, actually, if we make this a professional social network platform, this is going to be better for us. So we saw all the stuff about LGBT, about race, all about that sort of stuff, playing it all out. Be different on social, be different on LinkedIn. And they kind of almost backed it up. So that's when the Facebook warriors, I think, completely disappeared, when LinkedIn actually, the platform owners and hosts actually started disagreeing with them and saying, no, this is what we want. This is what we want. This is how people network. This is how people get to know each other and make decisions and form conclusions and create that wonderful little synapse spark of connection, deep connection. That's how they do it here. And that's what we want. And
we've got two things going on here, haven't we? So we've got, first is people are scared of jumping into this digital pool. They're scared they'll make a fool of themselves. They're not sure how their 20, 30, 40, 50 years of work experience translates into this digital environment and how they can retain a degree of professionalism while still being personal. So there are those people, the people that are fearful of this.
Yeah.
But equally, and you've covered this in some of your funny videos, Eric, equally, there are people that say, we do all of our selling on Zoom, so we are all over digital.
We're all digital.
So there is the flip side of that coin, which is people that have bought, they've bought a copy of Sales Navigator and they think they're digital gurus now because they're investing in a monthly subscription to something. So how do people know whether they are in that camp?
The results.
Yeah.
The results.
The results don't look very different from what they've done before.
Correct. We're doing all this. I met someone this morning. I'm doing all this stuff on LinkedIn and other platforms, and it hasn't given me anything. Think about that. It hasn't given me anything. It doesn't have to give you anything. You have to earn every single item of this. You have to earn it. If you want people, I've been on LinkedIn for a while now, and people don't really understand me because you're not providing understanding. You're not providing understanding. You're just selling stuff. Yeah, I've tried that relationship thing, but I can't seem to form any relationships because you're not trying. You're not trying. There are, Graham Alexander is one of my great hold-ups of this. Guy is nearly 60 years old, a complete technophobe. Oh, I'm terrified of social media. I don't know if I could do it. Had 71 followers when he started out trying to do this. Had never produced a piece of content before. Is now firing out content left, right, and centre, all created in a way to let you understand him and let you understand what his specialisms and his personalities are. I can't believe this. I've just connected with a guy who's over in Greece who said he likes my content. We've had a Zoom call and we're going to end up doing some work for them. This is amazing.
Yeah,
it goes back to, I don't know who said it. If you want the thing, you've got to do the thing, because if you don't do the thing, you don't get the thing.
Who said that?
I don't know.
That's great. It reminds me of a comment actually that was made earlier and was talking about someone was saying if you're local and you want to go international, like social media is a great way to do that. When I was much younger, I always wanted to be always wanted to be like an international man of mystery.
And you are, Lenwood. And you are.
You are.
I always wanted to be and so I thought I had to be an international lawyer. I thought I had to be an international lawyer, and then I didn't become an international lawyer. I became a corporate lawyer, and then most of my corporate law work was focused. I had the occasional international deal, but I wasn't international. Mostly focused on middle market companies here in the United States. Anyway, I say all that to say that when I got involved with social media, all of a sudden I became the international man of mystery I always wanted to be. And it was, I think maybe last year I discovered, wow, I've got this huge well, not huge for me maybe, but there's like 5 people in India that are, this idea that there are people in India who are paying attention to what I have to say. I just love it. It's just awesome.
Hi, I'm Lenwood Ross. I'm very big in Bangalore.
I love it. It's awesome. I'm huge in Bangalore. That's actually my second
comes to mind.
But then the other thing that I wanted to bring up, which I think a lot of people might be feeling, is it too late? Have I missed the boat? Or,
Yes.
you know, yeah, let's focus on that one. You know, is it too late? Have I missed the boat? What's the answer to that question, guys?
Definitely,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes,
definitely,
you have.
Definitely not. Definitely not. The many boats have left the quayside, but there is a boat for you waiting. There is a boat for you waiting.
Tim and I were having conversations, this is some years ago now, with a large consultancy who are globally recognized. And one of them said, when we laid out what we thought their strategy should be, one of them said, yeah, we're not going to do Twitter because we're too late on Twitter now. Mm. And this was the person that was head of marketing saying they didn't want to be on Twitter. They haven't got, as a company, they haven't got a Twitter account. So it beggars belief, particularly seeing as they're selling people digital transformation. You know, there are so many loops of irony in that.
Sorry, Leah's just put there's a lifeboat waiting for you.
Yes.
No, but it's not too late. And I don't think it'll ever be too late. Even if and that's because I know there are people who think that social media might go away, or that they're too late on LinkedIn. These platforms are very old. Or look at Twitter. You know, will Twitter be around next year? Those kinds of questions. And here's what I have to say about that. Whether it's Facebook or Instagram or LinkedIn or any of these platforms, the skill that you'll learn whenever you get going is going to be relevant for the next generation of platforms, whatever they happen to be. There was Friendster and MySpace and all that first generation of platforms before Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn. So this is an important and highly relevant change that will continue to evolve. So it's important that you get started. Don't feel like you've missed a boat. Get started so that you're ready you can deal with what's happening now, but you'll be ready as things change, as they inevitably will.
It's because it's not about the platform.
It's not about the platform.
It's about the skill.
It's interesting when you meet people who say, well, there are all these, I'd love to jump in because I think we could do some really good there, but we're not like those other people that are posting content and posting all this stuff. We're not. Why are you not like them? Well, they know what they're doing, and they're out there doing all of that kind of stuff, and we don't really want to, we're kind of inquisitive and curious, but we're not like all of those people. All of those people that you see every day and you look at and you think, well, they really know what they're doing here, all started just like you. And there's a big part of like almost like imposter syndrome to this that we need to get over. Every single person that produces content and has a profile that you understand on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, wherever it is, decided to start and actually take what was rightfully theirs in the first place. If you have an account, you're supposed to produce content. That's what the platform wants you to do. If you have an account, you're supposed to have a great profile. You deserve it. You have the right, just as much as the person who's got 30,000 followers and puts out jazzy videos every day. You have as much right as them to take your digital space, put the marker down and say, I own this.
Well, that person with 30,000 followers, they, like you, started with 0 followers.
Zero.
And they fumbled and they made mistakes and they learned and they experimented and they got into a zone of working where it just became normal. And that's where they do all of their commercial interaction. It's all in these spaces. And you deserve it. You deserve it as a modern professional. So what does a modern professional look like these days? The modern digital professional? Someone who's realized that actually I have the right to do this because I'm just like everyone else that's good at this. And all I have to do is for all my life, I've said tomorrow I'm going to learn how to do keepy-ups. The only reason between the difference between me and my son, we started one day in the garden and we couldn't do any keepy-ups with a football. Now he's brilliant at it. I just haven't practiced. If I decided this year I'm going to do 100 keepy-ups and I'm going to be great, get it onto my knees and my shoulders and all that, I could do it. But I just have to practice and learn.
Eric, and I have a question. And do you think, for example, that this modern professional should think about a platform in a strategic way, and also thinking that they have to invest not only maybe resources, yes, but not only maybe money, but also energy and time. And before you answer or anybody answers, I told you in our last meeting about a client, a legal firm that was working on a campaign, and they told me that they are organizing breakfast, some breakfasts with potential clients. And I was so amazed and so surprised. Why don't you invest in being more digital? You have all the tools, you have the people, you have a commercial team, and so on. Yeah, that's.
So the first question was about time and energy.
And a strategy.
Strategy. So yeah. So what tends to take all the mystery and all a solid plan and a solid strategy, right? If we don't have that to start with, we're navigating in the dark. So the solid plan and the solid strategy are going to give us a course of action and an understanding of what we're here for.
And results.
And well, maybe I think the results will come once we start out. We can't just put the strategy and the plan in place and hope that the results start happening. We need to then take that to work, take it to market, and convert it into some sort of commercial interaction. I always find it interesting when we go on a call with people who say we don't have any pipeline, we don't have any new leads, we can't get recruits, we can't get the investors we're looking for, and our company's going down the toilet. Well, here's a way that you could do this, and here's a framework. It's going to take a lot of time and effort.
I'd rather do more of the stuff that isn't working that's got me into this car crash of a situation.
That seems like hard work.
It's hard work, but we have to do it.
You're not able to get new leads and meet new people, so we're going to show you how to prospect and network digitally. That seems like, how am I going to fit that into my day? Doing what?
Well, I'm doing all of the
stuff. That's always my argument.
Or eliminating what? Yeah.
Yeah. Eliminate all the things you do that don't work. How about?
But we can't, because that's scary, and I need to hold on to them because that's my whole existence.
We need to double down on them. We're just not doing enough of them.
Tim and I were doing a speaking gig maybe 2 or 3 years ago, and one of the people at the speaking gig put their hand up and they said, I don't want to do kind of like personal stuff on social networks, because my family and my what I do with my life and my work, they're two completely different areas, and I don't want to do any of that stuff in the business space. And we said, are you over 100% of your number? And the person said, no, nothing like. Okay, well then you haven't really got the choice here. This is going to solve that problem. And it's one thing saying, I'm not going to do this from a position of strength. I don't need you to show me how to be digital, because actually we've had our best ever year. We're more profitable than ever. And I've just ordered a brand new Bentley. Okay.
Hi.
Yeah, exactly. That's the end of the conversation, isn't it? We're in real trouble. People have left. We can't afford to hire new people to replace them. We're not hitting our numbers. We're not going to get our Series B funding. All of these things are going wrong. We've got no pipeline. We've got no way of generating more pipeline. But actually, as you said, Eric, this does look like it's going to be too difficult. So we won't bother.
Yeah, this is going to take a lot of time and effort. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? And I think that part of this is down to the fact that people just become speaking gigs. It does sound dodgy. You're quite right. A lot of this comes down to the fact that people haven't got a clear set of steps that they need to go through. The idea of having a mechanism to generate conversations is great. The idea that salespeople can have so many conversations that they can deploy the sales skills they've spent their entire careers building sounds great. The fact that we're doing all of these we can do all of these different things which will promote us on a global stage, make us look professional, it all looks great. But where do we start? And a lot of the challenge for this is that if people go to those the previous organizations that they might have gone to, one of the big consultancies, one of the ad agencies, all of these people have vested interests, or in the case of the big consultancies, zero knowledge and experience in this space. Yes, they know how to employ a digital supply chain solution. They know how to add an ERP system. They know how to configure the latest marketing automation software, but they don't know how to be digital. And we see that time and again because they themselves are not digital. I remember many years ago, shortly after we started the company, Tim said, we need to be on Slack because if we are a social company, we need to use a social network to organize what it is that we do. And, we've always tried to walk the walk rather than just talking the talk. So where do people start? What are the first things that they need to do?
So I just wanted to add to that, Adam, you talked about the outside resources that they look at. They look to for answers. They also look to inside resources. So shout out to my sales enablement friends. They're looking for sales enablement and marketing to give them more brochures or more sales training or just a perfect script that's going to flip the switch. And converting that to a digital presence, a social enablement is the internal support that they can get for that as well.
That was something that was coming up for me too, because in our last episode, Leonard was talking about training the people, right? And I think what I'm hearing a lot here is that if we haven't enabled the team, then and we're always just looking at this, how can someone make us look? Like Mark was talking about, like, I'll pay a PR firm to make me look like a modern digital professional, and we still have this mindset that the secret is in getting someone else to make me look like something I'm not, instead of investing in actually enabling me and my team to be that, right? To be a modern digital professional, because you're paying money for someone else to make you look like the thing. So you could take that money and invest it in actually becoming the thing.
Would you, Tracy, would you expect to have someone who is training you to be a modern digital professional to be a modern digital professional? So, for example, you can buy training on social media to teach you how to be an influencer from people that are not influencers.
Well, this is my biggest problem.
I'm just wondering, should the people who are training to be modern digital professionals be modern digital professionals?
Yes. Well, and I think now we're talking about, like, what's the measure of a modern digital professional, right? Because one of the challenges, and Leah talked about it with the trust issues with digital platforms, is who do you know how to trust, right? Anybody can come up and put on their LinkedIn profile, I'm an expert at helping people thrive in the digital environment, right?
And both of my connections think I am as well.
Well, and I think that's the point, right? Is that at the end of the day, this still comes back to, like, the human interaction. The reason people come to listen to this show is because the people who come and hang out on this show have unique insights about the digital environment, right? These are people who come and put their brains to work every Friday morning for me, so that we can explore, we can learn new things, we can test out, like, I don't know how many of you were here when we were on the name is escaping me, when we were all in the virtual space and also
Metaverse.
That we were in
Minecraft.
The Metaverse.
Yeah.
What was the name of the
Call of Duty, I think it was
That's
called.
too bad. No, it's too bad. I can't remember the
Agora World.
But yes, Agora World. Anyway, so, like, that's a demonstration of digital exploration, and digital exploration leads to digital expertise, right? So, like, are we all experts at all things? No, but it's not the point. The point is to demonstrate what we know, and if it's interesting to you, then we have a conversation, right? I had this example once. So I connected with this lady who on her profile was all about connecting, right? And I'm like, ooh, I generally have really fun connections with people who are connectors, right? And I was chatting with her in like the LinkedIn chat, and I was like, oh, would you be interested in having a Zoom call sometime? She's like, oh no, I don't do that. And I was like, okay, I'm confused, right? Because this, is the start of a connection, yeah, but it's not going anywhere. Part of a connection, right?
You didn't get your vibe?
No. Well, and then I wrote a blog post about it, and then she figured out that the blog post was about her, and I was like, the thing is that there's people who it's still somewhere linked in an article I wrote, but
did
the
she
concept was
disconnect
like,
from you?
I don't think she did.
Did she read the thing about you and think, I don't like this woman? Oh no.
It's possible. I'm not here to be liked by all people, right? I'm not Michael Scott. I'm not
going to put one that out on our company page as a little quote. I'm not here to be liked by everyone.
But
but you
nobody
should.
likes everyone, right? Like this whole concept of like, okay, I'll go out on social media and then I'll like snazz up my profile enough so everybody likes me, right? Like, no, not everybody is going to like you. And like, quite honestly, I'm a little bit offended by people who go out and sell the concept of connecting and actually don't believe in doing it, right? Like, you're just selling a concept. And this is part of the trust issues, is that everybody's out there just selling you the thing, right? I'm going to sell you this platform and it's going to be the thing you need to get all of the connections. No, we've talked about that lots. The platform isn't the thing. It's about how people use technology. And if we're not going to keep coming back to that at the end of the day, people and companies are going to keep cycling through all of these technologies and buying new ones every 2 years because the technology doesn't work. But the problem isn't actually the technology. The problem is that you're not using it in a way that helps you do the thing.
The thing. Yeah.
So I think that's
this is really interesting. So I sent a connection request to somebody, I don't know, a year, 18 months ago, and they said exactly this. They said, I don't connect to anybody if I haven't at least had a call with them. So I just said, okay, let's have a call then. And she went, all right then. So we had a call and she accepted my connection request. But it's amazing, isn't it, that that people sometimes have such a strong belief about the order in which things must happen. So I need to meet you, then I will connect to you on LinkedIn. And then over however long, something will happen and it will morph into something, maybe. Rather than just recognizing that everybody operates in a different way. And the more people you know and the more people that know you, the more potential value there is going to be in these different platforms. And the more active you are and the more you create content and the more you engage, the more likely you are, again, to have some value. I'm an acquired taste. Aren't we all? That's the point.
Aren't we all? Yeah, absolutely. I love Alistair's comment. The CRM isn't working. We need a new CRM.
The number of times in marketing that I have seen that, I worked for a company and we implemented 3 different CRMs over the time that I was there because clearly the CRM was the problem in us making sales.
Yes.
Yeah. It's remarkable the number of people who will I would say at least 3 or 4 times a week, I get an email from someone who is going to help me to generate leads. And I'm like, you have not spent not a single second.
Not a single second.
Not a single
Well, I can help you generate leads, Lenwood, and I can do it in exactly the same way as I'm not going to turn you into a lead.
And I know you haven't
looked
at my profile because I can see who's looked at my profile. A guy DM'd me the other day, wanted to sell me a new tool that they've devised that scrapes data from LinkedIn in order that we can increase our lead generation by 75%. Even Benioff recently admitted that their own implementation of Salesforce was costing.
He did. I mentioned it yesterday in conversation.
You couldn't make this stuff up, could you?
It was remarkable. I couldn't believe it.
But Salesforce can't use Salesforce either.
Of arguably the largest sales technology company in the world said, maybe we're not building our technology fast enough because it's not working for us.
Wouldn't it be funny if they used Dynamics 365?
I couldn't. I was stunned.
But I think though that the point is, and he's missed the point with what he's with what he said there. You know, the technology isn't developing fast enough because we've got problems. No, that's not the problem. The problem is the people are not developing fast enough. So you are facing the same problems that everybody else faces. So he says, here's a catalog of services and tools that are built into our product. That's why you should buy our product. And people go, yeah, I'll buy your product. Then they sit there looking at the brochure saying, this is a magnificent product. Why is nobody using it? Correct. The issue is coming right back to the very beginning of this, which is it's about the people. It's not about the platforms. It's not about the technology. It's about getting the people to use these things that are already there, isn't it?
Do you know what the guy said to me that tried to sell me this amazing scraping tool that sucks all this data off LinkedIn and all that? I went back and I said, I find this very interesting given the sort of business that I'm in. Can you guarantee me that LinkedIn are cool with this system and that attaching it to my LinkedIn profile won't give me any problems, i.e. losing my account, etc., being frozen out or whatever? Because I know they're quite sticky about this. And he said, it's 75% safe, but we'll give you all the hacks to tell you how to stay under the radar. And you'll be connecting to about 100 people a day. You'll be growing your network by 100 people a day, and you're going to get these great leads, and you're going to change your commercial world and all of that. So just answer me again. Do LinkedIn support this tool, and will it be safe for me to use? Yes and no was the answer.
We're over time, but I think it's worth just sharing this thing that happened to me. Everybody on here knows about it, which is that we're using HubSpot, and we had the HubSpot. I had the HubSpot like widget on
plugin
Chrome.
thing, yeah.
And I was, doing my thing manually on LinkedIn, and I kept getting messages from LinkedIn like, what's going on? Check your security. Long story short, one day they shut my profile off, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I, reached out to them in a panic. Their person said, well, let me take a look at your Chrome setup to see if there's anything on there that violates our terms and services. And sure enough, they're going through and they said, HubSpot.
Get it out of there.
You've got to remove this widget in order for us to get you going again.
Holy moly.
I was scared out of my mind all the time.
Your plug. At the point that you logged in and it said your profile doesn't exist, your blood must have just run cold.
Oh, I was freaking out. We've locked your profile for 24 hours because you're using an automation tool. I'm like, what the heck are they talking about?
But it doesn't matter because you've only got 8,000 followers and 7 years worth of content. So it's not a big deal. Don't worry about it.
Yeah,
that's because it was an automated response.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the kind of thing that can, if you decide to use one of these tools that's being marketed out there, one day in the, at 1:00, you might see, guess what? LinkedIn has shut your profile down. And I imagine they're going to get more aggressive with it for this simple reason.
Oh, yeah.
It circumvents Microsoft owns LinkedIn, for those who don't. It circumvents their revenue strategy.
Yeah. So you could say, if you were to put this in a little sort of motivational template kind of thing, don't do those things if you want to get the thing.
Yeah, indeed. And I think that's a perfect point to end today. So thank you all for doing the thing. You've all done the thing. So hopefully we'll get the thing. And for everybody in the audience, you are the thing. So
yes, Alistair, yes.
You're the thing. And
we are the thing. It's all the thing. Yeah.
It's all the thing. Have a lovely weekend, everybody. We'll see you all next week. And thank you.
Yes, James Marlin.
Bye-bye.